Hello everybody, welcome back, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at, I guess it's a hard drive LED or something. Yeah, we're going to be looking at this system. I got my new toolkit, and we're going to be looking at this system. This is one of the two laptops I got from a neighbor who supposedly gave them away because they don't work, but I guess I'll find out soon enough why, or even if they do indeed not work. I got an Ethernet jack, probably either gigabit or 10100, not sure. I don't know the actual specs of the internals yet. I will once I look it up. An HDMI port, USB 2 or 1.0, not sure. Because unfortunately and annoyingly, the color coding for the plastic is not consistent with the USB 1.0 and 2.0. 3.0 is always blue, for instance, like that dark blue, but the black and the white can either be 1 or 2.0, so it's hard to know which one that is. It's probably 2.0 though. Got an SD card slot, and got a DVD reader, which I guess shows this thing's age in some ways. The other two USB, I'm guessing 2.0s, and a combination headphone microphone. And the bottom looks fine. The top is in very good to decent condition. The screen looks fine, just a bit dusty. There's a little bit of a, I don't know what that is. I'm going to try and get rid of it with isopropyl alcohol. There's a little bit of wear on this bottom key for some reason. But overall, the system's just a bit dusty. But yeah, I think it'll clean up real nice, and it's got a nice, like, I don't know what kind of coat this is, but it's a nice feeling finish to it. So yeah, I'll let you know what I find once I open it up. But first I'm going to look up the tech specs to see what I'm working with. And I might upgrade this thing if I'm able to. Depends on what I have planned for it. So yeah, yeah, when you next see me, I will have completed the opening up, I do believe, and I'll let you know what I found. Probably just going to be a lot of dust. But first I'm going to try and turn it on, because supposedly it doesn't work, but I'm going to find out if it doesn't work. It did come with a power adapter that is made by Power Source, which is not the OEM, at least not the original one for this Dell machine. However, I checked the voltages and the amperage. I checked the output, and it's 19.5 volts over 3.34 amps, and I looked on the inside of the battery cover where the battery is located, and it said on the battery cover 19.5 volts over I think it was like 2 point something / 3.34. So I'm just going to guess that it'll automatically switch to the correct amperage. But yeah, I'll let you know what I find soon enough. See you soon. Just a quick update. I looked up the tech specs, and as in typical fashion, they give you a large array of different numbers depending on the exact configuration that was chosen when the person ordered the laptop. But I did find out what this thing is. It's a Dell Inspiron 15. Inspiron 15 5558. I think that was the name of the model. So yeah, it can range from like a Core 2 Duo up to like an i7, a 5th generation i7. So yeah, it has quite a range of different potential things. It could be quite bad, or it could be quite decent, depending on how it was ordered. Of course, it can also be upgraded to an extent. Certain things can't be upgraded, of course, like the processor, unless it's socketed, but I doubt it is. I also found out that this USB port over here is actually USB 3.0, despite it just being a black plastic, like a 1 or 2 port. It's actually USB 3, which is cool. And the Ethernet jack is apparently a 10100, as I expected. I knew it wouldn't be beyond gigabit, certainly. So, yeah. Although I just realized it says AMD here, A8. So I'm going to have to double check my spec sheet because I might have an AMD model, which completely changes everything. I didn't even notice the sticker here. I guess that's nice to have a case badge. Lets you know what you're dealing with to an extent. I wish there was something somewhere that told you what this thing was, but there's nothing. I found a model number, but that was it, but it doesn't really seem to correspond. So I might be in the completely wrong area. I might be looking in the what's it called? In the Intel section. I might have an AMD CPU in here. I'll check. But I think that the other information I found is going to be the same. This one is a USB 3.0 port, and this one is a 10100 Ethernet jack. So it just might have an AMD processor instead of an Intel one. But yeah, that's about it. Quite powerful potentially for what it is, especially since I got it for free. And yeah, I will, before I go, I will say I find it very annoying there's no hard standard for USB colorings when it comes to the plastic. I wish that with the USB standardization and specifications that there was a standardized official coloring code. Because that would be very nice, but there isn't. So like that black one, I thought it was a 1 or 2, but apparently it's a 3.0 with up to 5 gigabit per second. So that's a lot different than a USB 2.0, which is what these two are, with 480 megabytes per second. But yeah. Also, I think that's a shared bus because it's on the same controller, so you wouldn't be able to get 480 megabytes out of 2 different drives at once on that controller, but I could be wrong. Anyways, yeah, I'll let you know if I have any additional information about what this thing exactly is. Maybe I'll just have to crack it open, which is what I'm going to do anyways. But first I'm going to plug it in and see if it turns on. Supposedly it doesn't work, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means that someone else thought it didn't work. We'll see. All right. See you soon. Well, I just realized that my phone, for some reason, was recording all the previous videos, including the first part of this video and the MacBook video that came before this one at like 30 FPS, 1080p. So now I'm recording at a much more proper UHD at 60 FPS. So yay. Anyways, so I popped open the lid to this Dell Inspiron. What is it? What's the damn notice? These product names are always so meaningless to me. Dell Inspiron G15555, I think. So that's 4 5s. It's basically the AMD version. At first I thought this was the 5558, but then I realized that the 5551 and the 5558 are Intel versions. This one is the AMD version, and unfortunately is not the best one that it could be. It's the A8 version with the 7340 or whatever it is. And the reason that's unfortunate is that not only does this thing have a 720p screen that's not 1080p, the more important problem is it doesn't have discrete graphics because it's the A8 version, not the A10 version. So the AMD A8 version, only the A10 version has discrete graphics. This one's using integrated graphics. So in terms of this thing being a gaming PC, it's quite limited by that. I don't know what integrated graphics this thing has, but it's not going to be amazing. So unfortunately, this thing is definitely going to be more like a school laptop, which happens to be what my sister is going to use it for. I'm fixing up this computer for my sister. It apparently doesn't turn on. I haven't tried to turn it on yet, but I figured that I might as well clean it out first. And if it had like water damage or something, and that's why it didn't turn on, I don't want to, I want to figure out if there's a problem. I want to make sure it looks all nice and good before I turn it on in case there's some other kind of issue. Because the person I got it from said it doesn't turn on, but that could be anything. That could be a dead hard drive. It could be any number of things. So yeah. I completely lost my train of thought. Anyway, so the good thing about this thing immediately is in the design is that it has a glory hole, as David says, from David Does Tech Stuff. I recommend his channel. He's hilarious. That's David with a W, because he's from Angola. And yeah, immediately I like this thing's design in that it has a glory hole. So it has like this access hatch. So you can access the most critical components without going any deeper. And it looks like all you need to do to go deeper is just take out like a few more screws, like 5 or 10 more screws. So that seems quite good. We'll see whether I can access the cooling solution without taking out the whole damn motherboard, which is always annoying. But given the performance of this thing, I might decide not to repaste it. I might decide, since I don't actually have that much thermal paste left, I have a very small amount left in this tiny little tube that I got with one of my liquid coolers, and as you can see by the plunger, if it would focus, as you can see by the plunger, it's basically completely out. So I don't know if I'll have enough thermal paste to repaste an APU. Luckily, it doesn't have a GPU in it. The first time where it's a good thing to not have a GPU, a discrete graphics card. I mean, it has a GPU. It doesn't have a discrete, it's not even a discrete graphics card, it's just a discrete GPU. Anyways, beyond semantics and word games and technicalities, the point is this thing does not have a dedicated graphical processing unit. We'll just say that. So I think I have enough to repaste the CPU, GPU hybrid, the APU, whatever you want to. I think I don't know if AMD, if APU is an AMD specific term, but regardless, the point is that I might decide to repaste it, or I might decide, depending on the thermals, if it's going to be a pain in the ass to get any deeper than this. I might decide to see if I want to boot it up first and just see if the temperatures seem fine for what's going on. Or I might decide just to go full hog and just repaste it anyways, because, yeah, good to repaste. Like that MacBook that I don't know if I showed it on the video, but the thermal paste was like thermal chalk. It popped off with my spudger stick. I took the end of my spudger and I basically carefully, like, just came off in little powdery chunks. It was completely dry. So, yeah. We'll see. I'll let you know when I get a bit deeper. But for right now, I'm just going to pop out this RAM, this hard disk, some other stuff, like that Wi-Fi module, which might also have Bluetooth on it. It just says WLAN, so I don't know if it also has Bluetooth. But yeah, pop that out, and then, yeah, see where we are from there. Yep, let you know when I get a bit deeper. I took out everything that I can take out. I suppose I could pop out the battery as well, which I'll do. But I've basically taken out everything, and it's really not very dusty inside. So I'm actually expecting a fairly easy restoration of this machine. I think basically all I have to do is just clean the old thermal paste. Because this thing came out in 2015, as the name Inspiron 15 suggests, and I highly doubt that anyone has actually ever repasted it. So, and besides, this is Arctic MX5. If I don't drop it, so whatever they repasted it with, it's not going to be as good as MX5. At least I'm not going to assume. Who knows? Maybe they have cryonaut under there. Anyways, but yeah, the only thing I can't get out is this disk drive, and that's because I'm supposed to pop it out from there, but it doesn't seem to want to budge, so I'm not going to give it too much force. And I have all the screws removed, so I don't know why it's not popping out, but I'm not going to force it too hard. I'll just take it out later. But yeah, I think this is going to be a very simple restoration. All I have to do now is flip it over, pop out the keyboard, undo a few more screws, a few ribbon cables, and then I'll have access to the repaste. I'm going to repaste it, and that's basically going to be it. And then I'm going to sort of put it back together and hope it turns on, because if it doesn't, as I got this thing not working, well, yeah. I'll also, while I'm in there, of course, look and see what I can find in terms of why this thing isn't turning on. It could be any number of things. I'll look for something hopefully kind of obvious, like obvious water damage, where can't really repair that, but like if it had a short and it's fried, at least I'll know why it's fried, and I won't spend the next 2 months trying to figure out why it doesn't work. So, yeah, we'll see what I'm able to do. At the very least, and since I got this thing for free, at the very least I got a disc, and I got 2 sticks of 4 gigs each, and I got a wireless card, let alone all the other various things I can scrap. So at the very least, I have parts that I can scrap for other things. So overall, even if worst comes to worst, I still have at least something. So yeah, I'll let you know when I get inside. But I have liberated the heatsink and fan assembly, cleaned off some of the old thermal crust, and now I'm going to take out the board and see if I can diagnose the problem. I think the problem has to do with the power button, because it's not really actuating, and it's on this little daughter board, so I'm going to check the connections there, the connections on the motherboard, and the actual button itself. If the button is broken and if I can't fix it, it's probably a really cheap part to buy online, or I could figure out something really cheap and simple to do to fix it. But then the rest of it's just cleaning this part of the motherboard here. So I opened up the fan assembly, and this is what I found. It's disgusting. Not the worst I've ever seen, but still gross. And the actual heatsink has a little dust bunny right there. So I'm going to go and clean this out before reassembling the laptop, because I think it's now ready to go. I just need to put it back together and give it a final wipe down. So I cleaned it all out, and I put it all back together, and so I plugged it in, and now I'm going to find out whether it turns on or not, and whether it actually posts and all the other stuff. I have the original disk inside, so it should boot right into Windows. So yeah, we'll see. So I turned it on, and there was some weird flashing or whatever, and some weird bars, and now it says that there was some sort of checksum error with the real-time clock was bad, so I'm going to have to replace the CMOS battery. I didn't actually replace it, and the voltage may not be correct, so we'll see. But I'm just running through the basic hardware issues. So I'm just going to run through the standard troubleshooting techniques. I think I'm going to have to replace that CMOS battery, because it's probably never been replaced, and it's probably not good anymore. But I could also pop it out and check the voltage. So yeah. Alright, in conclusion to this Inspiron 555 Legacy, I have purchased, well, technically my sister purchased, because this is going to be her new laptop, my sister purchased, under my recommendation, a 2 terabyte Crucial MX. This is a very decent drive, very good, actually. Not just very decent, very good. It's got 2 gigabytes of cache, and it's 2 terabytes in capacity. Good quality, good brand. And it's going to be replacing the 1 terabyte hard disk. I recommended that she switch from a clunky old 5000 400 RPM mechanical hard drive with over almost 4 years of total power on time to a 2 terabyte drive that will last her for, depending on how much she uses it, will easily last her for 5 years, if not more. Probably a decade. It's going to have more than enough capacity for all of her games and everything she wants to do on it. And will also, as a bonus, be able to be transferred over to a new computer. Assuming that the new laptop she gets after she's done with this one has a SATA interface, which not all of them do these days. But oh well, at that point it could be put into a different system. It's a useful thing. So that's what I recommended that she buy, and she bought it, and it was a good price. It was on Amazon for $91. As far as I know, it currently, as of the upload of this video, it currently is still $91. And that's a good price, I think, for such a nice drive. And yeah, so it's going to go right in there, and I'll get to installing Windows. And yeah, that rounds out this video. I think I'll make a, once I get Windows installed and whatnot, I think I'll make one last short little update just to update and make sure that it's working and get all the drivers installed, and then I'll do one last little sign off, I think, or maybe not. I think I will. Yeah, I'll do that. And so that's the end of this one, and I hope that my sister gets a lot of use out of it. I also need to test the CD drive, so yeah. Anyways, yeah. Hello everybody, welcome back. And yeah, so I got this 2 terabyte SSD installed in this laptop that I got together for my sister. And I mean, it's been a while, but basically it turns out that my sister doesn't really like it. The keyboard's a bit too mushy for her, which fair enough. So instead what's going to happen is we're going to take out this drive, I'm going to buy it off of her, and I'm instead going to put into it this 240 gigabyte Kingston SSD. And this laptop is instead going to go to my brother for his schoolwork. Now, 240 gigabytes isn't amazing, but it'll be fine for his purposes, what he needs to do with it, which is basically just going to be Excel, Word, basically Microsoft Office, internet browsing, that kind of stuff. The basic kind of daily stuff. So I'm going to get that installed, and this laptop will go off to my brother. And there it is. There's the drive, the new drive, well, the old drive. I got this 240 gigabyte SSD off Craigslist for $15. And it still has 94% capacity, so it's still got a lot of life left in it. The installation of Windows isn't going particularly fast, but it's certainly better than a hard disk. And what do you want? It's not exactly the top of the line performance for an SSD. It's a fairly basic Kingston 240 gig. And you gotta kind of tame your expectations. And that's it for this one. We're currently in. We have our, I'm going to start installing the drivers and various programs. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. The part with this Kingston SSD came like a month after the rest of the parts were filmed, so it might be a bit of a jarring jump cut. But now it's just time to install the drivers and all the other stuff, and then I'll hand it over to my younger brother. This will be his new laptop. So yeah, just to quickly review the specs, we have a AMD A8 7410, and that's a 4-core, 4-thread CPU running at a base of 2.2 gigahertz. And the memory is 8 gigs of whatever speed it is. 1600 megahertz, makes sense. And we have our 240 gig SSD, and this is just a utilities drive. It's on a flash drive, so yeah, that's it. Alright, well, I'll see you in the next one. I got a lot of projects coming up, so stay tuned.